Good evening, everybody. Welcome back, as ever, to Building Blocks, where we program Minecraft mods live on camera. It might have been unwise to go out in like the 3 degrees Celsius, 40-mile-an-hour winds. Anyways, first off, I guess I have to say, apologies for the bar up there. That's my keyboard getting very old, and unfortunately, I can't convince it to go away. So that's just there for right now. On 115 yet? We're not on 114 yet. That's not even up to me at this point. Like, that's up to Flying, who's she's in charge of coding the the patch that updates the majority of our 112 code base. So yeah, that's gonna be a while before that turns up, as far as I know, at the very least. Anyways, there's not a lot to show that's distinct from last time. I don't think I had the hats last time, so let's show that off. Might as well.
29 months. Time for Wiggles.
Yay! Thank you for these Wiggles. Ooh, and I got a new emote, which is I think that's a ghost sleeping? I'm not 100%. Wondered why you couldn't hear stream? Because I was being incredibly quiet. Yeah, so last time we were working on modeling the witch, which is a multiform archfey creature, and they are responsible for the changelings and their hives and whatnot, and that's all a part of their a part of their warlock pact. And I unfortunately haven't had enough time this week to work on warlock pacts. They're supposed to be tied in to the advancement criteria. But the advancement criteria are locked in a vault, and they're kind of hard to actually hook onto in any fashion, so I might have to rethink how I do that, and it might end up being that I just have to create a whole ton of my own criteria, essentially. Which should be annoying, considering that there are such useful things already implemented here, but yeah, things I have to deal with on occasion. But okay. If and we drop into our testing world, then we can see what has become of our witch, who has been fully modeled and retextured, and now has some nice kind of clothing elements, I guess. They do thingies with my bobbers and have contracts for using their thingy my bobbers. Yeah, pretty much. Whip. Hi. Hello. That's a sight and a half. Oh, right. Okay. Yes, I know why I was there. I came all the way over here to, like, actually test some stuff out. Okay, so here's the current model of the witch. And, yeah, most of the time, they do that kind of, like, wide smile. And then occasionally, about 1 in 30 times that they emit an ambient noise, they do the full, like, split jaw mouth thingy that we were working on last time. And, they are looking pretty sweet. They've had, a fair bit of a skin overhaul there. Looking pretty good. Also very timely, because I found out that the 2 main pieces I was using for reference are now completely off of Tumblr. Like, that entire blog is gone, so those pictures are gone with them. So, yay for me. Also, added the glow-in-the-dark eyes. You can see those have retained their brightness. Pretty sweet, pretty sweet. This is about as dark as I can make it with sort of building a box around them, so for right now, that's what you get. So, yep, they've got the model, they've got the texture, they've got the glow-in-the-dark eyes, they've got the split jaw, which we might have to sit here a while to actually see, and they also have the hat. Because every good mage needs a hat, like, needs a nice magician's hat. And I initially tried just replicating the one that witches in vanilla wear, and it, for lack of a better description, lacked sufficient, like, pomp. It seemed, like, very understated, and it really needed to be a bit more dramatic. The tips of their ears poke out? Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Right there. So you can still see their ears on the sides there if you ever stop looking away at me. There we go. But, yeah, they poke out. That color doesn't match the clothes color. Nope, that is just standard light blue. I don't have the hue value of that. I can easily change that. There is a little trick that I'll show you in a hot second here. But here we have the Magician's Hat. This is craftable. You make it using 5 leather in, like, it's the same exact number that you use to make a leather helmet. Anyways, it has the same properties as a leather helmet. It is exactly as dyeable and enchantable and all sorts. And let me see if I remember. No? Interesting. We appear to have a slight degree of lag on the game at the moment. Wonder what that could be. Oh, there it goes. 1, 0, display, name, I believe it's that in the lowercase and everything. So, somebody asked, like, if I could do this, so I tried. So if you name the witch Jeb, then their hat cycles color. You happy, folks? I did the thing. Doesn't do that if you name the item Jeb and wear it, but it does do it like that. So, yeah, there's that. That's an option that you have. But yeah, if we want, we can change it to any color that we like. That is just the default is just the light blue, which I believe is this one. There's also like all of the colors, but I just put the blues here. Was the one asking Marsh? Might have been Firefly. I genuinely don't remember. But yeah, so that's a thing that you can do, and I do have the code in place to make them change their model. In fact, if we swap back to the game code, I can actually just implement that again real quick. So render patron witch. So we've got a lot of different values in here. We have get main model, we have get entity texture. These are all based on a value known as appearance, which gets randomized. And appearance is itself an enum value, so we can link things quite easily and expand it quite happily. Can witch have a fluffy tail? In one of their forms, definitely, because currently one of the forms listed here is fox. So, yeah, like, no question there. I don't know if that fox is going to be identical in model to the 114 foxes, the vanilla foxes, as it were. The vanilla foxes do look nice. They look a little bit derpy to me, but, you know, they're cute. They're cute. They might just end up being, like, an Arctic fox or something. Actually, Arctic foxes already exist. They will probably be a fairly large fox no matter what, because they have to be relatively similar in actual mob size, so that I don't have to worry about just switching their mob size back and forth, especially considering this is currently 100% client-side. Which means that multiple people can have different appearances being rendered on the same witch. Large fox with the glowy eyes. Yeah, possibly. Okay, so yeah, we've got human, which is the one that we are currently seeing there. If I... Like, currently all of these are set to zombie. If we reinstate elf, then we can look away, and it has to be a value of at least 5 seconds that you are not looking at the witch. It keeps track of the last render time, and if you look away for 5 seconds, it picks a new random one. There are weights, but I haven't quite fully implemented them just yet, but it will always make sure it picks a different one to the one that's currently on. And consequently, that means every time you look away and look back after 5 seconds, it's a different model. So that should be all I need to do to get that going. So let's run in. Obviously, the only model I have right now is the human one, but shouldn't take me very long to get a few of these done. We've got crone, we've got elven, and we've got fox currently. And there's probably going to be more, because the de facto deity of changelings should probably have more than 4 shapes. But that is a feature specific to the patron witch. So yeah, the patron the patron deer, not so much. Deer, elk. The patron Kirin, I guess. You froze for a second there. I was worried. So yep, there is zombie Jeb. And if we look away, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nope. There we are. So yeah, it's the same exact entity, just being randomly chosen, like, when you look away. So it's always the same one as long as you're looking at it, which is when it's being rendered. And as the moment that it completely leaves your vision, it ceases to be rendered, and now it is asking for whether or not it's been long enough. Which it hadn't that time, but that's fine. It's a little bit random is fine. So that is a nice little trick. I like that. It's very fun. And today we are trying to determine some very distinct properties of creatures like the Patron Kyrian and the Patron Witch, because they are both creatures referred to in-game as Archfey, which a lot of creatures are Fey, and a lot of creatures are Archfey. And a lot of creatures are neither of these things. And the only thing that distinguishes Archfey and regular Fey is that they Archfey frequently don't have stat blocks. They're not things that you can say, here's its attack bonus, and here's how many hit points it has, and here's its armor class that I need to exceed to hit it and punch it in the face, that kind of thing, and it has a variety of, like, spells and whatnot. And there's really only one other major thing in D&D that actually doesn't have stat blocks, but is nonetheless frequently occurring, and that is gods. And Archfey are, did I just rename? I guess I just renamed the armor stand there. Archfey are distinct from gods more or less in name only. Archfey you're more likely to actually encounter them, but like they're just a step below gods essentially. Gods you don't really want to mess with under any circumstances. Are they gonna have their own custom sounds? Yes, absolutely. Currently, the Vex noises are just the default noises for all new oddities, but obviously, sounds are intended. Hi there. How are you? Let's get out of here. Middlesbrough. So under ordinary circumstances, you would never be able to hurt the witch, and that should probably still be more or less the case. Titania can be considered both Archfey and God, you're not wrong. Would the witch be upset for being stuck in a testing cage? Possibly. Possibly. I mean, the Patron Witch's whole thing is that they're imprisoned and they want to escape. They were imprisoned by the Kyrian. With very good reason. By the by, here, this little thing over here, this little box, is in fact the spell entity for this particular force cage, which has been made permanent via changing the entity data. So yes, you can make permanent spells, even though permanency itself isn't actually implemented right now. But, yeah, so Archfey are extremely powerful. You're not meant to ever pick a fight with them. If you do, you're not ever meant to win. Frequently, they're the kind of thing where instead of it being a TPK, they wave their hand and you're teleported off to some prison or something. Like, you're not meant to ever hold the slightest bit of a candle to Archfey. But we can't just put a mob into the game that is invulnerable by default, and you therefore can swing your sword however much you like and nothing will ever happen. And also there'll be no consequences whatsoever. Because, firstly, that is incredibly boring. Just, like, hand-waving it as you can't ever damage these creatures is actually really boring. Like, not really fond of that. Like, there's creatures like the Wither who are temporarily invulnerable, and then there's a big explosion, and now you can murder them all to heck. And then the Wither changes midway through and has, like, different resistances, so that arrow attacks are basically worthless, but now swords work, that kind of thing. But an actual outright invulnerable creature, when basically every other creature in the entire game is murderable, it's taking agency away from players. They go into it, they expect, because they've found there's everything else they can kill, that they'll be able to actually attack and assail the witch, and they can deal with it. And the witch should be a very potent boss. Probably, like, not strictly actually better than the Ubervidron, but significantly more durable. Because this is obviously an important NPC, we don't want them to die, because then people won't be able to, like, do the witch pact at all. Like, if you're a witch warlock and somebody goes and kills your patron, then what you gonna do now? Exactly. Did I have your only pickaxe also? Oh, you're right, yes, because you recently got hecked up by a wyvern, didn't you, Burr? Yeah. So, we basically need to draw a middle road here. We need the Archfey to be damageable, something you can actually take on in a fight, but which you essentially have no chance of actually beating. Now that's a bit difficult, especially inside of modded Minecraft, because there are mods like Draconic Evolution, which will just straight up murder stuff. Like, /kill murder stuff. And there's... Okay, a little bit of behind the scenes here. In Minecraft, there is a damage value. Let me see if I can remember what it is. Damage source falling into the void, I think. Something like that. Out of world. Damage type out of world. There's very, very few things that cause out of world damage. The main and most obvious one is actually falling into the void beneath the bedrock and such. But that's also the damage type used by /kill. And if /kill or the void fail to actually kill an entity, that entity doesn't go away. And if then it also doesn't despawn, as our NPC witch here probably wouldn't either, then it's just a drag on server resources for the rest of time. You never want to make something immune to out of world damage, because then it means that server admins can't actually handle it. Can kill people in creative with a cheated in potion. Yep. Is that from the Draconic Evolution, or are you thinking of vanilla? Because there's plenty you can do to people in creative here. So yeah, we can't just say they can't take damage, nor can we say that they are only vulnerable to out of world damage, and we definitely never want to say that they're immune to out of world damage. Like, they have to be vulnerable to that. So we need to try and make this guy incredibly powerful, but in a way that doesn't just feel like you're getting, like, run over by, like, I don't know, a steamroller. Like, you don't want the players to get straight up dumpstered, but you don't want them to actually succeed in killing the patron. So yeah, that's our objective today. We need to define Archfey in a way that causes that. And first and most obvious thing is an effect called spell resistance. Now, spell resistance is a function of Dungeons and Dragons, which basically says that these things don't have saving throws, but certain particularly potent creatures just more or less can't be affected by them because they're too weak, that kind of thing, or you're too weak. A high-level spell used by a low-level character can still fail to hurt a lot of things. And it's basically meant to be a measure of this thing's power versus the person casting the spell's power, rather than the individual spell itself, in essence. Previously, we did not have that implemented. Now we certainly do, because we now have a value called iMob Spellcaster. And this was an important step into getting mobs to actually cast spells, because previously, the only thing that could actually cast a spell, essentially, was a player. Players had a variety of different items that can cast spells, but even though those created an entity, there was no kind of mob that did that. And there still, technically, at this exact moment, isn't. But is there a way that Witch could know if they're in the void and teleport out, but still be vulnerable to /kill? Check if your Y value is below 0 would be the first option for detecting if you're in the void. Because no blocks can exist in the world below Y equals 0. And that's just like checking positions, which is not very elegant, suffice it to say, but could work. But either way, we are looking here for this. So yeah, the first thing was iMob Spellcaster has a variety of things in it. So the first thing is its caster level, which functions the exact same way as the caster level check for players, which affects a variety of things from damage to range, that kind of thing. Then we actually have the spell resistance value. So the majority, I think, of spells currently allow spell resistance. There's no way for players to gain spell resistance. Not presently, at the very least. They may be in the future. Who knows? Comes in handy. And that means that every time that a spell gets cast on a given mob that is a mob spellcaster, it will check if the spell resistance value is greater than 0, and then it will roll between a random number between 1 and 20. It'll add the caster level of the player, and if that number is equal to or higher than the spell resistance value, then the spell works, essentially. You are sufficiently powerful enough to affect them with this feeble spell, that kind of thing. We also have this down here, which is can spell affect, because we currently have a function like this for mob types, so undead are immune to certain spells, like enchantment spells a lot of the time, dragons are immune to a lot of spells, that kind of thing. But obviously mob types are open to manipulation, and this allows for specific mobs to actually have resistances to specific types of spells and whatnot. So that means that we can actually have the spell affect different mobs differently, and also just sometimes just not at all, which is very handy. We've got the whole like gamut of spells interacting with creatures here. So then we come just into here in the can affect entity section, which determines whether a given target is valid for a given spell. And that started off with just, is it inside of anti-magic, and is there, like, is the event of trying to use it on this entity blocked by any reason? Which is a handy little tool. So we just check if the spell can affect. If it can't, doesn't work, that kind of thing. And then this part gets a little bit more complicated, because if we just had spell resistance implemented, a mob with spell resistance casting spells on itself could potentially fail just because it didn't beat its own spell resistance. So I had to make sure, is it a willing target? Willing targets in D&D do not apply the spell resistance against things. That usually just means, is it on the same team? Is it a pet? That kind of thing. Then we check if the spell allows spell resistance, check the spell resistance is greater than 0, then we roll a level check, as it were, and if that fails, then false. So spell resistance is now fully implemented. Obviously, there's a non-zero problem here, which is that the caster level of the target is not necessarily above 0. If it's at -1, I think it is, then you are basically counted as being essentially a level 20 spellcaster. You can just cast anything. The default is -1, but you can change it in game rules and such to be 0, which means that you can't cast any spell whatsoever, because you need to be at least caster level 1 to cast like level 1 spells, and not even many of them at that point. But yeah, so we have the bones in it right now. And let's just open up Entity Archfey. So here we have our friend where the witch itself comes from. So if I go to Patron, we have Archfey, we have Witch right here. Extends from Archfey, Pact Patron, which is its own thing. And it's just mostly in here, just code for making it, like, do the stuff. For making its ponytail animate, for making its jaw move around appropriately. For making it do that nice little wide smile. That kind of thing. That's just all that this is right now. There's not very much to it. But we can say implements iPact Patron, and if we go to Archfey, because we expect this to be true of all Archfey, implements iMob Spellcaster. And we're going to, all of these are defaults, so we only have to include the ones we actually care about. We're going to say that our cast level is always 20. So, or we could even make it even worse. We could say our cast level is always 30. Which, we might as well. Nothing is really built for 30, but there it is. And let's also give them fairly reasonable spell resistance. Make level 20. No, that's not happening, Nick. Stop asking it. The more you ask, the more annoying it gets. It's no longer a joke at that point. Like, literally, there is one level 12 spell in the entire history of Dungeons and Dragons, and even then, it's, like, questionably canon at best. Like, it was very heavily just like, no. There's epic level spells. Those do exist, and if my system could stop my keyboard, do you mind? No? Okay, fine. There's Chrome on my window there. There you are. Yeah, the annoying thing is when my keyboard does that in the top left, I can't do a lot of actions, which is really irritating. Level 9 is already world-breaking E. Not quite. Level 9 is stuff like... with the wish... like, level 9 is powerful spells. They're the most powerful spells players can usually expect to have access to. But even then, wish is like single use, and if you use it, you can potentially fry your capacity to ever use it ever again. So let me see, what are the outcomes on that? Wish. There you are. So there's this whole list of stuff that is essentially safe to do, but it has an XP cost, it has a material cost component, and like it does a lot of stuff in here. And in like 5e, you can legit just fry it from your brain so you can never cast it ever again. It's like it can go very awry. Like most of the things here you can do much more safely and reliably and lower level spells, that kind of thing. But there was also in free, like 3rd edition and 3.5 edition, there was also the Epic Level Handbook, which was what happens when you go beyond 20. And that's where we get access to epic spells, which are functionally 10th level spells. And all of these things are incredibly powerful and exceedingly hard to get access to. You need to be very high up in stuff to do strange things with it. But you can do some very interesting things with it. So for instance, Raise Island can literally raise a new island from out of the sea, bringing to the surface a sandy or rocky but otherwise barren protrusion that is solid, stable, and permanently established 100-foot radius hemispherical island. Brings you that. There is also things like Living Lightning, or Eternal Freedom, or Greater Spell Resistance. The character grants the touched subject spell resistance 35 until the duration expires. That kind of thing. Like, this is where things get really, really powerful. Is there a Grant Courage spell? I mean, there's Dragon Knight. Summons an adult red dragon. If that doesn't give you, like, courage, I don't know what does. Dire Winter, 1,000-foot radius emanation of bitter cold for 20 hours. Like, just big blizzard. And actually, I'm gonna dial it up to there, because why not? This thing is meant to be offensive now, and yeah. Whee. Doesn't help with phone anxiety? Apologies, I don't have a spell for that. You might want to see your local bard. Spell that just bans you from your own will. Yeah, that's the kind of like level I don't want to be getting at, because that is like, if you can just do that, then there's a lot of dangerous things that can happen. Like, Can be DMing your first group in over 5 years, hopefully. Well, good luck to you, Lance. Hope you have fun. Okay. So we've got IMOB Spellcaster implemented into here, and now we want to say also that we are essentially going to be using the boss attack system. Now, we've already covered exactly what that means. It essentially allows us to have a list of special attacks that have distinct like cooldowns and whatnot, and distinct effects and conditions for being used, that kind of thing. In our case, the one that we are most likely to want, at least initially, is the capacity to insta-heal ourselves whenever we get very close to, like, 0. Which will mean that you can wail on them, and maybe even get pretty close to killing them, but you'll never be able to actually murder them. Or at least pretty close. Need to pin down your players? They're wearing Star Wars Saga Edition. Oh, there was a game I heard about recently which was set in the Alien universe, and good God, I want to see that. Because of course I do. Of course I do. Anyways, T-Rexes have how much? What's their attributes? 115. Just gonna clone that for the top moment, stick that into here. And we want to say armor is 20, so they're decently chunky. And we're gonna give them 300 health. I think withers are close to that. Let's find out. Good lord, why is it so far down here? Yeah, Wyvers have 300 health. Okay. An armor of 4, surprisingly. We leave movement speed as is. Attack damage we can leave as is. Follow range we don't need to worry about either. Okay, so that makes our Archfey pretty beefy, just by writ. But if and you get to the point, like, on the one hand, I'm willing to say if you can deal like 300 damage to a creature, it's probably fine. Like to just let it die. But again, if this is on like a server, you don't want people to just be able to kill Pact patrons, because like Warlock patrons are meant to be around. They're not. If you lose them, nobody can get access to that. That's well, Dusty. Thank you. 7 gift subs now, Dusty. 1 this month. Oof. Thank you very much. But okay, we need to implement some things here. The attack handler and the create handler. I forget, is that a separate thing or the same thing? Yeah, well, the same thing. Good attack. Good. So let's go back to our Tyrannosaurus, because that already has them involved here. Okay, where are you? Better question. Use that. Way near the bottom. There you are. Okay. So the boss attack handler essentially is a data source that just handles all of the special attacks of this particular boss or creature. We use this as well for a bunch of other things that are functionally on cooldowns. So the Tyrannosaurus and the Ubervidron are both bosses and they actually use the boss attack handler, but there is also the End Golem, who also uses it for their main attack, in fact. Because that's also something that we have access to and can do. Yay! So we're just gonna create ourselves an attack, which provides a lot of healing, so that the Archfey has a very low chance of dying. I don't want the patron to not be around. Glances at one campaign with the Gulfius tree becoming the Warlock's patron. Gulfius tree? You're gonna have to help me there, Burra. I don't know what that means. I've never heard of a Gulfius tree. So let's just make our list here. So big heals, and then multiple like spell effects. So buffs, area AoEs, that kind of thing. So let's go to AI, boss, attacks. There's all the manner of things here. So there's a number here related to the Tyrannosaurus, so spawning raptors, charging like a mofo, roaring, which nauseates and knocks back people. Spawning Vidikinder doesn't really do anything right now, because Vidikinder aren't a thing, but it's just another example of spawn minions. We have the Golem Laser, which is what the End Golem uses. We have the Fireball, which is more of a more of a flamethrower used by the Never Golems. Boonsteel takes positive potion effects from nearby players and applies them to the Ubervidron. And then we have Boss Killer, which is basically my tool of just, this is meant to be the best thing in existence, so that can't be. Bye bye. It's like you can't take on the Ubervidron and other bosses. Big mean undead tree that had a vampire buried under it. Okay, right. Okay then, sure, fine. But okay. So we want attack, Archfey, heal, I guess. And consistency, blip. I can't remember if these extend something or implement. Okay. Hi, boss attack. Okay. Bunch of things all off the bat here. And we want this to be high priority, because if the Archfey is about to die, we don't want there to be an opportunity where it doesn't use this. And we can keep the cooldown at 0, but I'm going to put it to once per second. This is measured in ticks, so because it is then decremented at every tick over. Okay, and perform very simple source boss.heal for, let's say, 200 or 150, might as well. There. So if the boss gets really, if the Archfey gets really low on health, then immediately he heals that. We do need a little bit of a factor here. So say the Archfey has to have less than 150. There are mods that will let you deal more than 150 per attack. It's absurd to me, and I don't know why you would break the system that high, but you can. So let's see, is valid returns to the attack can be performed by the given boss, such as due to enough valid targets. That's the one I want. So for this, we want source boss.get health is lower than 150, or is lower than half. There. And some are shown, like, displayed as a rapidly decoding name above their heads. This one, we don't really want to do that. Just, yeah. Well, it didn't ask for the... I mean, that's true of a lot of warlocks, as I understand it. Okay, and let's just... We need to get this a name, so say Archfey Heal. There. And should show name. We got that going right there. So let's go into... well, actually, we need to add that to our attack handler, don't we? So... Bloop, entity Archfey, big heals, attack handler dot add attack, new attack Archfey heal. Import. Okay. And let's also dial down the default time between actions. So that's what that value is there. That's the minimum cooldown. So if you dial that really high, they only do special attacks every so often. If you dial that really low, they do it very quickly, which is important if you're using this as a main attack. Bearing that in mind. So in this case, we're saying like 3 seconds minimum cooldown. Anything lower than that, it's ramped up to minimum second. Essentially, that second thing is the time between like choosing an attack to use, whereas the attacks themselves individually also have cooldowns between when they can next be used, which allows you to actually like move through the priority list, which is then also filtered by what's actually like effective at this exact moment contextually. It's a very clever system, and I love it. But okay, so we've got that, and I think I'm trying to think here. Probably do still need to tell it to implement, but let's find out, because we'll find out if it crashes. Thank Nick. Have a good one. Whoop, we have a problem. And it is related to on-boss update event. Okay, yeah, thought as much. Because it's a null, is why. We could just actually have that say private boss attack handler equals create new handler, but we put it in the optional AI just to make sure that server admins and such have more control, that kind of thing. Hey Ron, how you doing? So This witch has no offensive capacities. The joke you made was about the joke getting stale, then it might not be a funny joke, Nick. I believe that's called beating a dead horse. Let's see if this is broken. Yes, it has again. Okay, what happened? Null pointer. Interesting. I wonder how that happened. How are we having a null pointer now? Yeah, boss.getAttackHandler was somehow null for the Archfey. I wonder if it's because it wasn't set. I mean, Pura, you're like the pun master. I feel like you should probably have expected that. Yeah, that's all referring to the same thing. Well, we can probably just manage things a little here. So if this attack handler is null, then create a new handler. There. Once we actually are able to close this one. Or not. Oh well, my fault there. Sometimes puns are just too bad even for the pun master. Yeah, true. Pun master can grown up puns too. Yeah, true. Not sure why we haven't seen that problem for the Tyrannosaurus, but I presume it's because pre-existing. Speaking of, I should check the rating right. No, handler doesn't get rid of rating. Okay. This part, by the way, is the thing that you use to occasionally find chicken dinosaurs. Chicken Tyrannosauruses. Didn't eat dinner? Oh dear. I ate mine before I came on stream because I realized that waiting like an hour to eat food is necessarily not a great not a great thing. Okay, are we gonna get frozen? Do you still have that freezing thing? That's new. I haven't seen that happen before. But okay. Well, yep, that's good. So you can see there it is actually translating it. Gradually. Ah, right, of course. It's stuck on that version. Huh. Let me see if I can task manager that close then. Yeah, one of these is not responding. The question being which one. Not that one is the answer. Just stick it back to there for a second. Easiest way, of course, would be to just reboot Eclipse. That would get rid of it. Yeah, as well. There you go, thank you. Or times when they've gone hours without any kind of food? Yeah, same. So yeah, there's the value should show, which is up there. Controls more or less whether this is just like a basic attack that the boss uses, and so it doesn't really need like a means for the players to figure out what's about to happen. But in a lot of cases, it's a matter of this boss has like 5 different special abilities that it can use at intervening points, and players need to react appropriately to each one in turn, differently. So they need to know what's about to happen, and sometimes that can happen based on animations, sometimes that can happen from particles or noises, but we want to have a reliable way of doing that, so the vast majority will actually display their names ahead, as in above the head. Yeah, I haven't done that freezing up part before, and I wonder if that's because of the keyboard smashing keys at the moment. So, yep, there it goes. Boss.varod Archfey Heal is what we see above the head there. Just occasionally using it. Very good. So, if we check entity data of type equals Varod Patron Witch. I think that's it. Yep, good. Health currently at 20. That doesn't seem right now, does it? Probably because you're a legacy, as it were. So health is lower than 150, and also, but it isn't lower than max health there. Max health is written into, yeah, there you are. Max health is written into your entity data when you're first spawned, so every time that it's been respawned, it's read as like max health 20, but that also, of course, means that it's always going to be lower than 150. So we need to whale upon this witch somewhat. I think I have power, like Word of Death or something. Yep, there you are. Slays a target creature with 100 health or less. So, yep. There you go. Obviously, we don't want that to be possible. Okay. So, now... health, 300. Grand. Now we need, let's grab ourselves a damaging spell of some description. How about Sunburst is a pretty decent one. Causing severe damage, especially to undead and slimes. Ooh. Let's get rid of those. In fact, why don't I just put that on since I'm playing the part right now? There we go. So yeah, players can craft their own. It's nice. Hecked up slightly. One moment. I really hope that that didn't save. Oh dear. I'll be back in about 10 minutes, everybody. Welcome back, everybody, where absolutely nothing dangerous could possibly have happened, and Baby Trans is perfectly fine. See? Hello. How are you? I know, but if I let you out of here, you will burn to death, and burn to actual death, and that would be very bad. Okay, so let's not use Sunburst, because I forgot how wide a region that is, or more specifically, let's use that on the witch that's at 0, several, like, basically a kilometer away. Because I'm pretty sure we'll be fine in that event. I forget. You were, I think, no AI'd. Yep, because you're already trying to actually, like, use it. So that witch was still at the very low health. So let's bring us a new one, and there you go. What's your health now? Health is now at 267. Okay. And 247, so it's about 20-40 points. Give or take. 185, we're close. And there we go, healing up. So now back to 274, making it pretty difficult for us to actually outright murder this guy. I say guy, though we just only have a gender. And 100 health or less means not gonna work on the witch, because as we've seen, it functionally cannot go below 150 health. But you can still nonetheless wail on it. Hurrah. Okay, so yeah, apologies for that, that's rather unpleasant means of going to break. Guess Night Witch isn't going to just lay down and take it. Oh no. Oh no. But it shouldn't necessarily be by means of offensive attacks. But our next thing is we need to actually classify a means of, well, using a boss attack to cast a spell. Now, in some cases this will have like a day of cooldown, because you'll only be able to cast them once per day. Like if you're just an actual spellcaster. In other cases, we're going to presume that they have basically access to unlimited amount of them. So there's also that. And we also need to say should show name false here, so you can't actually see that. But okay, so we need an actual more generic boss attack here. So let's see, entity AI boss, there. So attack, cast spell. And we probably want this to be an abstract. Okay, so we don't need that, don't need that, don't need that necessarily. Perform is our main thing. Either Twitch is being twitchy or I forgot something Friday. Twitch is saying my channel is set to mature audiences. Might just be left at it. Of course I can't get there because this is still up there. Irritation. Spill in. No? Because pickle? What? What? Pardon? Aww. Magic effects should be a trick here. Let's open up item spell container. On spellcast. So I get that one. There we are. Item use finish. change that to caster in, it'll save us a bunch of trouble right now. Good. World in this case being the caster's world. So it literally just does exactly what you would do if you cast it as like a scroll, essentially. Twitch, you're saying that? Yeah, I mean, I can't get at my Chrome tabs easily because of this right now. I'll try and do that during the next break. Sorry. Not much I can do there because my keyboard is screwing me over. My Kingdom for sufficient funding to actually replace my keyboard. Remind me what the can cast does related to the scroll. Casting state related to the scroll, not terribly much. So let's just create a new scroll for this case. Resin Hagen base, yeah. Not to get too political, but that might be the case eventually. Rather quickly. Oh, Ratspur. What is going on here? There. Set. Should be a spell here. There you are. So that'd be stack and this dot spell effect. There. So it just creates an actual thing. Stack my foot. Oh, good. Makes that so much easier. I'm glad I've apparently fought ahead. So that just creates a stack, and then we use that as our reference. So that will be that will make it so that there's a few things here that are going to be based on the boss there. We assume players are always looking at their target, for instance, whereas bosses will have to tell to look at their targets, that kind of thing. So this isn't going to be 100%, and obviously also want to make sure that don't say you don't have to either because you want to help. I mean, yeah. Windows L for more of it. I don't know what that does exactly. The main problem I have is my keyboard keeps doing this. But okay. So we've got cast spell. Looks to be decently set up. So point of note, inside anti-magic. If you actually like cast anti-magic field wherever the Archfey is, they won't be able to cast their spells. Which is probably a good thing for you in most cases. Okay. And this is just a generic, so we can use this as a basis for casting anything we like. But for right now, yeah. Oh, that's adorable, Marsh. Pixel, for those uninitiated, is the fox way over in that corner on the bottom left there. They're our stream pet. And if you, like, cheer and whatnot, they will get treats. Let's say... Let's see, just void cast the effect. And let's also add world. Just so we can actually encapsulate that and use it elsewhere for other things. So for instance, we could say perform and then actually also cast the spell once we've actually like pointed
Lion
it
Keyboard Fun 2020.
Thank you very much for that, Dusty. Enjoy your wiggly fox in the left there. Okay. Right, good. Trying to sniff and find pixel behind your screen. Aww. It's adorable. But okay, so we've got perform, and let's just have that be cast effect by default, so we can override that if we need to in other things, but for the majority it's just that. So that'll be things like making sure that the spell that we're casting is like a buff. We don't need to do anything special, we just need to cast it, that kind of thing. I'm trying to think, do we want to protected boolean inverted equals false. There. Because if you invert, some spells, if you invert them, then they become self-targets, and other things not so much. So it depends on the spell a little bit, but okay. So we don't have something that's just give it a spell and it will go, but we do nonetheless have something that will allow us to have our witch cast spells. So let's actually create one of those because that's an abstract. So attack, cast, spell. What's an idea? What do we want to cast here? Ice Cage or something? Let's open our list. Magic effects. We have a lot of them here. Disintegrate. Darkness. I think darkness still needs some work. Invisibility. Power word kill. Obvious one. Wall of Fire. How about that? Let's put Wall of Fire into the list here. So, attack, cast, spell, wall, fire. We should also do a thing down here to actually check whether or not magic effect, well, the spell effect is null, because you can configure some spells to not actually be initialized, which is a kind of important thing. So if spell effect is null, or source boss is null, it's a less likely possibility, but something to bear in mind. And if you invert Wall of Fire, I believe it just aims at its own, and it just creates the circle. So let's extend this a little bit. So we can create a lot of different alternatives here by just actually telling it where to be. Another option would be to actually control specifically the entity, but it's probably okay. Yep, that should be good. Technically, this means we could also give it a different thing than what's in the scroll. It's probably fine, though. So let me see, what else do we want to try and do here? Just point it down, point it straight down, I guess. Spawn it at the position, just point straight down. As we're just making this sufficiently versatile in just one abstract class that we can double up 500 different times to make sure that we don't to make sure that we always have like the effect that we're looking for, essentially. It's always good to build in stuff like this, essentially. Because if you do it early enough, then it gives you a lot more time later on. Okay, so we do that, but what we want to do is copy the location and angles, and then point it directly down, which should then mean it just points itself directly at the ground, which is important for things like area effects, like casting a wall of fire, for instance. Well, I hope that this gets done. So let's see, we start with the head part, or actually we go, I want to say, yeah, we want to start with the head line and just point straight down. Of course, this is presuming that this even works at all. I haven't tested whether mob spellcasters work yet, because I haven't had a way to do that before right here. So who knows? Who knows? So rotation pitch equals math dot to radians, I believe it is -90. I don't actually know what value that should be. That should mean it's pointing straight down, but I guess we'll find out. So, okay, attack, cast spell, wall, fire. The name of this will be Arch, Fey, wall, fire. Priority, we'll give this at least 1. Cooldown, we'll say 5 minutes, might as well. So that'd be reference dot values dot minutes times 5. There we go. And we also want to give this a check. So is valid. We want to check, is there a spell like nearby that is also wall of fire? So let's see. We need a list of empty spells. Get entities within. Yep. Entity spell dot class and source boss dot get bounding box dot grow. We'll say 16 blocks. Okay, and ideally we would also actually have a predicate in here saying, well, asking specifically is it actually a wall of fire? So then we only end up with the ones we're actually interested in having. There. So return nearby walls dot is empty. There. So if there's already a wall of fire within like 16 blocks of the boss, then they shouldn't, the Archfey, they shouldn't do it again. Okay. So let's add that to our Archfey. Attack, handler, add attack, new attack, attack, cast, spell, fire. And we need to modify the perform, because it needs to be cast effective position. Not just cast effect. There. Okay. That should all be good. Everything looks about right here. Cooldown is 5 minutes, the cast time. Like defaults. 1 second. Should be fine. Should be fine. Okay. See how it goes. So, the boss attacks get updated whether or not they currently have an attack target, which is why it was healing up, despite the fact it has no means of identifying a creative mode player as a threat. So we should just see it laying down walls of fire now. But fortunately, I can dispel those. Though the caster level of the Archfey is 30, so it might get a bit hectic. We'll see. The Eternal Mood. Question, Dusty? What's up? Okay. Not seeing you do anything. Wonder why that is. What makes a creative player not be targeted like a survival player? What code goes into that? It's a predicate. So the same thing that we just used to identify specifically walls of fire. Oh, I did that the wrong way, didn't I? No, it is empty. Okay, good. Checking if the predicate there was right. Specifically, it checks if a player is in survival, or spectator, or creative mode, and basically by default, all of the, like, nearest attackable target stuff checks for not creative mode. So, okay, you're not doing anything. Why aren't you doing anything, Witch? Let's find out. What could be causing you to not do anything? Because I'm pretty sure priority and then also is valid get called in here. And you should find that there's none here. Let's put a sys out here. Wait, what we got here? Oh, that's fine. Print line, attempting to cast spell. So yeah, it's very simple. Just checks game mode essentially. Friendly arachnid is getting hacking wrecked. Oh, would it theoretically be possible to change it to make it to so a specific person in survival isn't targeted? Yes, but I don't know why you would want to do that exactly. Like, you could check username or UUID, that kind of thing. Like, fairly easy. Not that hard a problem. Predicates, as you can see, are extremely flexible. We did program the heal. So it's only valid if they're less than 150 health, or their health is lower than half, which this witch definitely is not. Yeah, your health is 274. You're definitely above half and also other stuffs. Merlin, hey, how you doing? So what's causing you to not try and cast the other spell? That's the question. Is it the priority? Why is it the priority of Boonsteel too? 3. Well, let's set that to 10. Let's see, boss attack handler. Make sure here. So, attack state, casting, getting you attack. For every possible attack that's off cooldown currently, check if they're valid, and if they are valid and their priority is higher than the highest priority that we've yet identified, then we set that to be our next one to cast and use. That all looks exactly as expected. So I wonder why we can't see it trying to cast this spell. I did write it in, didn't I? Yes, it's right there. Good, okay. There. So that way at least we'll know if it's checking it. Like everything here should be fine. Occurs to me I probably should also check I should also tell it to be inverted, because otherwise it's just gonna make walls. It's gonna, like, just place a wall more or less exactly where the witch is and just set them on fire. But hey, if it does that, we know it's working. We should also probably tell mobs to not wander into fire if they're not immune to fire damage. That's a thought. Spell is valid to cast. Just saw that in there. Attempting to cast spell. Where? So it looks like it tried, and then it went on cooldown, and then weirdness apparently happened. Remote. Can cast the spell event. Not inside anti-magic. Should all be fine. I wonder it's related to the wall spell itself. I feel like magic missile should definitely be a spell that they can cast. That's a very obvious one, it's a pretty effective one. Am I familiar with the mining laser thing that used to set opt players on fire? Way back when. If I nudge you, yeah, I'm not seeing anything there. Okay. Attempt to cast spell. Why aren't we seeing it then? Position good, it's okay. Why do we not see it? Let's hit spell wall fire. There you are. Okay. Do effect. Yep, fine. That looks good to me. Well, fire shouldn't be an instantaneous thing. There's nothing here that seems to, like, just destroy it. And it is inverted, we've set that part. Ah, hello. Okay. It's getting the look target of the caster. So consequently, it's getting wherever the witch is actually looking. Which is wherever the witch dang well pleases. So we need to tell the witch to point downwards significantly. Right as we cast it, essentially. Okay. That resolves that problem. So it wasn't casting it because it couldn't, essentially. So rotation, pitch, math, 2 radians, -90. And just so we're actually clear on that, let's F3, look down. Okay, 90. Needs to be pointing the other way. It's just to be on the extreme safe side. These attacks, like the boss attacks, by the way, are very agnostic on what creature is using them. They're meant for AI, but in theory, I can totally 100% create a boss attack that can be used via an item. So players can actually use it. Like, that's entirely thing. So we want source boss. Position X, source bus dot position Y, and source bus dot position Z. Say 100 F, I guess. I want to make sure that they actually look down. Yeah, Dusty, like, the skull attacks from the Ubervidron's, like, additional heads are boss attack based. So, if I use that boss attack, I can put that into an item, say a helmet, and it will actually function identically to the boss. So, like, it's a helmet that gives you, like, floaty heads on the side, and also they actually shoot the explodey heads at, like, nearby enemies. Like, that's a thing I can totally do. Okay, that should hopefully get this to work. I guess that's a thing I should actually, like, set to the cast effective position section, but let's see if this works. I know how you can make Minecraft an easy / normal not spawn mobs. / game rule do mob spawning, all one word, false. There you go. Obviously you need to have cheats enabled to do that, but... That, however, will not spawn any creatures. That includes animals. So bear that in mind. Like, it affects, affects sheep as well as zombies. Stein cake. You want a Stein cake? Not seeing any spellcasting here. But I also took it out here, so of course I'm not. Oh, there's a thing that I believe happens There is a function that gets called whilst casting. Client visuals, do visuals. Yeah, that's just client side. Is that only called client side? Okay, boss tag, yeah. While the attack is being cast before it begins performing. Okay, let's check that. Okay. So we just continually, whilst we're casting this, point the witch's head down. That's why I just want to check what is the usual values that. Okay. Hopefully, that works. Hopefully. So just continually, whilst it's casting the spell, it'll try to look straight down. That's the, like, only thing that we need to, we need this to do right now. Alternatively, we can have it cast and then just, like, generate the circle ourselves and just hardcode that into the data of the spell. That's a thing that is possible. The actual, like, wall of fire is stored as like a list inside of the MBT data of the spell, so you can actually make very very fanciful effects should you wish to use the entity data function for that. I don't see you casting anything. Hang on. Hang on. I wonder. Have I goofed in the way that I think I've goofed? Don't think I have. Because I just realized that Wall of Fire is an instantaneous effect. You cast it and it's done. So that might, like, boss attacks default to being instantaneous. Next spell I make is definitely just going to be Magic Missile. Okay, let's see what we get down here. If we get this one thing working, then there's a very broad list of other things we can get working quite happily. Casting. Casting. We see that happening there, but we don't see anything actually appearing. Interesting. Even though we told it to do that. Which suggests to me that's not getting cast. I'm not just overlooking it here, am I? No, I'm just seeing zeros. Jeez, we're not getting to that. Interesting. I have a question, what specs are a must for a keyboard in my opinion? Programmable keys. I have function keys like left and right of my keyboard, and they are a godsend. Like, just being able to program macros into them is so helpful. So helpful. Let's see if I spawn a second one. Well, you cast it, that's for sure, but you didn't look anywhere. Okay. Trying to think here. Do effect. Takes active, yes, good. Yeah, so there's the point where we can actually just hardwire these points in if we desired. So, to do that, we'll need to create ourselves. Let's see, set points up here. Part of the spell data. Yes, okay. So, if we go to here, then we can actually create it ourselves. Again, we don't see it down here, which suggests to me we're not actually casting that. But again, we determined that nothing uses that. I have named this right. Yes? Because Archfey Heal works. Oh, no. Aha, right, I've been a complete dingus. This entire time, considering it was right there, I called it perform effect instead of perform. Okay, what about cast, is that right? Yes, that one's right. Okay. So that's why I wasn't seeing cast. Para, are you doing what I think you're doing? Because I can update the wish list later tonight. I have positions in here, don't I? No, I don't. Okay. Nothing, you're doing nothing? Uh-huh, uh-huh. Innocence. I mean, we've already established that you probably shouldn't try to send things to the P.O. Box right now, because they might get lost irrevocably. You wake up, get stuck on the leaf bed, scream, which does nothing. Oh, yeah, that's an old bug. That's for sites outside of Amazon? Yes, but you can't buy things for me just randomly on Amazon. There has to be on a list, brr. Got that Pocky randomly? What do you mean? Actually, no, that... But... So things that are greater than a kilogram should logically end up in the correct location. So if the keyboard's greater than a kilogram, then you might actually end up in the right place. I mean, how much a kilogram is? 1,000 grams! And actually, since the thing over here is gone, I can actually find the in freedom units. You want Imperial. In pounds, it is 2.2 pounds. Yep. Doesn't it end up in parcel force at... No, if it's greater than 1 kilogram, it ends up in parcel force. Which means it bypasses Royal Mail's actual delivery that currently might be incredibly borked. So actually ends up here. I've just realized that. That's absurd and hilarious. Wow. Parcel, like, just... Oy. I never thought there'd be a day where Parcel Force would actually be better than Royal Mail. Just add rocks to the package? Yeah, just chuck like chocolate bars in there. Just set it off. Okay, that should generate a donut, essentially, around... around our witch. Hopefully. If this works. This is completely bypassing stuff. Sticks? Yep, I know. Hopefully this spawns... hopefully this works fast enough. We'll find out. Let's give us a boolean. It does. Hey, you know. I'll have to remember that later on. So it's spawned at the position of the witch, and it's given a predetermined list of points. So it should know... It should know to put it all there. But we'll see in a hot minute. Literally, if this works. Since it's a wall of fire and all that. Okay, I'm seeing the wall get cast. Down here, at least. What's it gonna tell me? Are we gonna see wall of fire? Or not? Did you know if it actually loads? Because I'm not seeing anything happening here. Just going backwards and forwards. And I have high CPU usage. Oh boy. Okay, well, I'll catch you guys in like 10 minutes then, I guess. And welcome back, everybody. So, heck willing, we've gotten this working. But, it slightly crashed because I accidentally an infinite loop there. What happens there with the last one was I didn't change this to Z, so it was just constantly iterating up the X while it was trying to do Z. Yeah, which is an infinite loop, and that was my fault. Technically all of this is my fault, but that in particular was also my fault. Such is the way of things. Got a pint of milk, so I mean, if you can, like, turn that into cheese very quickly, Marsh, then I guess maybe? But I would necessarily recommend just milk for tea. Well, tea, maybe, but also have some, like, water and tea bags in there and such. But for dinner, probably not. Okay, we see spawned wall entity down here. That means it should have a bit... Oh good, there's only two. I thought there was somehow 3 of you for a second there, and that would have been unpleasant. Anyways, 1 second while I just punch this particular witch into the hole. Come on. Over you go. Toodles. Yeah. Okay. Line assaults his own creations ASMR. I mean, yeah. Could custard it? I don't have custard implemented. So, not right now, I can't. Yep, there's the hole. I'm just trying to get you to actually, like, a point where I can see you. Okay, so we haven't gotten the wall working. What we could try doing is casting Magic Missile, because Magic Missile actually spawns in a thing and does stuff, and then determines if it has a target. So, we'll try that, shall we? So, attack Magic Missile. I cast Magic Missile. Oh, you went for Millo. Oh, fair. Attack, cast, spell, Magic Missile. Then you're glad Witch doesn't have Flim Flam. Not this one. That one doesn't. Yet. Who knows? It may yet occur. Bearing in mind, Magic Missile is also scaled to a number of to a number of projectiles based on your caster level. Reminder: currently all Archfey are caster level 30. This is a level 1 spell. This might be a bit much, but we'll find out. Sorry, Marsh. Kyo renaming the Ender Dragon and New Helena comes to mind. What's... Oh, because of Flim Flam? Yeah. I forget what it was. And for cooldown, give this one a seconds value. So say 15 seconds. Okay. That should all function. Like, that should just work by itself. Let's find out. Like, we'll just, this will essentially just determine if it's specific to wool. Found out modded armor couldn't have enchantments stripped from it by Wolfram's potions. Right, yes. What was that potion? Disenchant? I can't remember. Okay, let's see how this goes. So this should just mean that we see, like, a bunch of magic missiles turning up around the witch occasionally. I ain't seeing it so far. Oh, hey, there's a bunch of stuff over here. Ooh. And it's pointed in different directions. Effect at P arcane sight. Wall of fire. Ah. Okay. So that's where it was cast, apparently. Hey, you did the thing. You did the thing. The rare and radiant thing. Da-da-dum. Okay, we saw you casting magic missile. But not much happened. So that should at least be true, probably. Just to hide it, so we have particles in our face the whole time. Okay. They're casting it, that's good. But it's presumably just killing the entity immediately because it can't actually do anything. Okay, right. Yeah, so that part is working, but why are we not seeing the spell get cast? That's the question. Why is the spell not being cast? Like, that is the right thing. Yes, I haven't just misnamed that. So that goes down to there, we get the spell stack, which creates that. Yes, good. Doesn't matter if it's inverted, because Magic Missile doesn't have a secondary function. And then it should spawn it. Do we see spawning spell entity in here? We don't. Interesting. So... not inside anti-magic. Okay. Spellcast events shouldn't get stopped by anything. We can check, that's for sure. Yeah, so nothing should stop that. Shouldn't be remote, so well, that should be good. Maybe it's the can cast part. Or the casting state. That could well be it. Spell... projectile force is magic missile. So, let's see. Interesting. But that's not referenced anywhere. Spell resistance, range type medium, yes, all good. Force evocation level 1, yeah, all good. Head instant, duration 0, standard action, do effect, generate projectiles, and spawn them, so it should... Interesting. Anti-spell. It's not inside anti-magic, and it's not also the anti-magic. If spell equals null, I wonder if that's the problem. I wonder if this all boils down to the scroll. So there's the sub-items, add all, get variants, yes. All of which are set spell that. Spell scroll, the spell, which is the magic effect. Okay, so that should be right. Did I know that I'm wonderful? Yeah, don't know if I'd necessarily agree. This is quite odd. Quite odd indeed. Okay, let's check entity spell here. System.out.print line. Updating entity spell. Spell equals magic effects dot magic missile, because otherwise we will get a few from back at base, as it were. Oh, medical tomorrow, Cam? I hope it goes well. Real loving lying hours? Oh, you're all dorks. So as near as I can tell, it might not be spawning it, but let's find out. Like, we might not get past the can cast check. Cast level should be fine, unless it's not coming through properly. So when we see those letters above their heads, we'll be looking down here to see if that actually gets spawned. Nothing happens. Okay. Which means we don't get to that stage, which means it's part of the can cast, most likely. So then it just never spawns the thing. Let's see. Spell effect dot get name. Do we ever get to cast effect? If we get to cast effect, but we don't get to spawn entity, then logically the only thing that can be happening is can't cast it. Where is the check for material components? But that shouldn't be either. Because I'm pretty sure Magic Missile didn't have any. Do you know, I've been sat here with some, like, Pocky just right next to my keyboard this entire time, and I've been so absorbed, I haven't actually cracked it open. At all. Okay, I see casting effects. So we got there, but we never actually got to the point of casting for some reason, like spawning the entity. Okay. Let's add a bit more steps to this. Is there anything here that could actually, like, return easy? Like, return quickly? Nope, doesn't look like it. Okay. I need to have Pocky as an emote. I mean, there's a lot of emotes I have planned. The trouble is just actually having the spare Skrilla, as the kids say, to actually buy, like, commission them. There we go. Now it's real programming hours. Okay, so we get to casting effect, but we never get to we never get past the can cast. Okay, there's a problem there. There's nothing there that's affecting can cast. Nope, nothing there. So it's gotta be part of the vanilla one. So if you're inside anti-magic, fail. Components, is valid. I wonder if that's the problem. What are the focuses? Or what are the items here for spell projectile force? Not seeing any. Spell projectile? Nothing there. Not seeing any reference to the components. Nope. Okay, which means that the default ones prescribed by iMagic effect, which are just verbal and somatic. Okay, so those are the ones that we should be checking. So is valid, verbal, not silenced or petrified, okay. Somatic, movement speed is not 0, slowness is not greater than 4, not entangled or petrified, so both of those should be fine. But we know it's happening in the can cast section. You hear can cast and your brain just wants to say can. Well, currently we can't can, so, Okay, that'll give us a bunch more information as to what's going on here. We cannot not. Those are such very cute little bongo cats there, Espa. What do they have there? Is like that like a jammy dodger or something, or they have like some kind of button? I can't quite make it out. This is where I found out something incredibly crude. Casting components accounted for, not under anti-magic. So the thing it's failing is caster level. Okay. Why are we failing caster level? That's the next question. So if it's an instance of entity player, return the regular caster level. If it's instead an instance of mob spellcaster, get their caster level. We already determined that our caster level is 30. Is that not the function already being used? Right there. So it's the caster level that's failing. The caster level check is somehow failing. Interesting. Well, okay, we've identified what the problem is now. I think it's a jam donuts. Christmas emotes or some type of sweets. Okay. What's August 8th? I don't know. Off the top of my head. If there's something significant there, I do not know. So yeah, we see that we have the casting components accounted for. We're not under anti-magic. But we never get to cast level sufficient, which means there's a problem there. If caster level is greater than -1 and lower than the spell's caster level, in order to cast it, then we have that problem. Okay. Let's check to make sure we're properly identifying iMob spellcaster. Get rid of these because we've just verified they're not the problem. We are going to have to put in some interesting caveats for a fair few situations because as writ, currently mob spellcasters always have to obey whether or not they can whether or not they have material components on hand. And whilst that's not necessarily a huge problem, we do want to make sure that occasionally we can ignore that. Spell-like abilities, for instance, in D&D don't require you to have casting components, but also having to swap what they're holding. They can hold, like, by writ, if you're not a player, it only checks your hands, your left and right hand. So if there's more than 2 casting components required for a, more than 2 material components required for a spell, mobs just can't cast them. So that's a thing that I need to bear in mind. Profiterole Sundae has a lot of fresh cream in it. Ooh, sounds nice. What does by writ mean? Like, just as standard, like, by rule. Caster level is sufficient, suddenly. Okay. So why do we not see anything happening here? Also, why are we seeing caster level sufficient, but not actually getting the caster level from our entity? That doesn't make much sense. We should be seeing this. So what's happening here? Caster level is sufficient, but nothing's happening. What else calls that? Out of curiosity. Can affect entity? Just make sure that we're not actually getting a misread there. Because we shouldn't be seeing one of those without the... That doesn't make any sense. We should be seeing Mob as Spellcaster here. No target? At least with the projectile spells, it doesn't care. Like, because it appears for a split second, literally, like 1/20th, spawns the projectiles in the, like, correct angle and momentum, and then despawns itself. So this projectile spells exist purely to create projectiles, and that's it. So they don't actually need a target. Ray spells is a little bit harder. The way that the magic missiles work is that they spawn dummies, and those check to see, like, what you're looking at as a target, if indeed you're looking at anybody. It spawns them anyways, and then they just despawn themselves, if, like, they just blow up. Because they can go through walls, but assuming you had some means of identifying somebody's location through walls, it would be a bit busted if you could legit just ask them to go through the terrain. So you have to be able to see them, but after that, they don't care about what's intervening. Also, we can see that the no target is not the problem here. So do we still see caster level sufficient? No, we don't. Okay. But we also don't see Mob as Spellcaster. How to nerf Witch. Introduce them to the beginning of spellcasting codes. Well, we've already made them nigh unkillable, because they can still, if they drop below 150 health, they can just heal 150 health. Like, if you can deal 300 damage, or just more than 150 damage, then sure, you can probably kill them. Good luck there. Cast level of null. Oh, right, yeah, that's just the startup. Don't worry about that too much. Right, need to take that off my bar for right now. Didn't even get to that line. Okay. I wonder if a lot of our previous information was actually just the power word kill on my bar. That'd be irritating, wouldn't it? Nagas? What? Did I miss a question there or something? Word power word kill eel nagas. Oh, okay. To the best of my recollection, I don't think anything has power word kill in its spell-like abilities. But who knows? I mean, it's a 9th level spell, there's presumably something. Let me check. Angels have access to it, or some angel has. Gibbering Orb, but that's an epic monster. Nah, I think it's just like one angel has it. In particular, Solars, who are challenge rating 23. Been watching Flux Plays and the series coming before it, and one of the important events was Nagas. Tell you what, I once cast Power Word Kill on an entire server by accident. Passes anti-magic check, so apparently failed on the component check. How is it failing on the component check? Interesting. How are we failing on the component check? Verbal and somatic by default. So, not petrified, entangled, slow, or movement speed 0. Not silenced or petrified. Next question. Are we failing all of those? Are we failing both of them? Like, how are we failing? Which one are we failing? failing the vibe check. The Bacilla boss hiccup. Yep. But there was also that point where I killed every god except like no mortals. So I had to quickly op Kyo to go into the bedrock box and turn off the magic. Oh, Spring Realms was so much like absurd fun. Oh. Passed verbal, by the looks of this. But not somatic. How are you failing somatic? Yeah. Fails the somatic check. Why? And why now? Previously you were getting past this just fine. Ha. Not petrified, not entangled, not slow. Movement speed greater than 0. The Bacilla boss hiccup after hiccup had a very interesting out of character quote from me. Oh, wrong lever, was it? I don't recall. Either silenced or petrified. What could it be? Is it the movement speed? Movement speed should be fine. Yeah. Is it part of the boss attack system? There's a fort. That might be it. I think that might be it. Huh. So, one of the default settings of the boss attack system is that when you're activating an ability, you can't move. I think that might be preventing somatic components from working. Out of context? Oh. That part was cut out of the video. Is that like a sinning thing? Or do let me know. Okay. Well, let's cheat slightly. We're just gonna take that check out entirely for the moment. Light sinning? So that's a thing I'm gonna have to try and figure out, how to retain having them stand still, but not in the same stroke voiding somatic components, because it treats motion based on your as like your general capacity to move. So it's actually breaking itself that way. Hooray! That was probably what's affecting the wall of fire as well. I think. Ish, maybe. Yep, there we are. So, it is just hacking up on the somatic components because they can't move. But hey, we got a spell being cast. It's not currently targeted at anybody. But if I'm stood here and they're looking at me when they cast it, then hopefully we should be able to see them actually, like, fire them at me. Come on, I believe in you. No? Okay, fine. So we need to fix that part. Because they're not able to, like, identify targets. But we nonetheless have them actually casting the spell. Hooray! Missile passes the check? That's... Alright, yes, of course. Passed the component check that time. So I just put in a to-do here, or fix me. Prevent boss attack. Stationary from avoiding somatic components. Attack chicken. Yeah, we'll stick Witch in the ring with Gilgamesh for a bit. Okay, and iMagic effects, for at least the time being, does not need all the sysouts now. Checking caster level, caster. Wait, caster level of entity player? That's interesting. I actually don't see, like, Entity Witch in here at all. But that might just be it by writ. What? Something happened, everybody? Okay, so... yeah, I need to figure out that part. Because a stationary one prevents you from moving. So I might just need to build in an exception inside the somatic handler. But... everything else appears to be functional now. Like, if we go back to attack, cast spell, wall of fire, and tell it to also ignore casting, we might actually be able to see the Archfey cast that. Hopefully. Let's see what happens. So it's at least 5 seconds between doing anything, and all of these have cooldowns of their own. We'll see how well this goes. Is this client side only? Effects for no, that's okay, good. I did set this to 5 minutes still, so it might still fail, but we'll see. Or at least take an age to find out if it fails or not. Apparently spawned the wall. Yep, there it is, just didn't do anything. But it is at least doing stuff. Let's actually see what it should look like when it does that. I'm sure I put in like a thing to say, but yeah. So that's what it should actually look like, or something to the effect. Obviously, we need to correct it a little bit, and the actual spell is over here. So yeah, there's definite problems here I need to fix up, but hurrah! Decent progress. So we've made our Archfey have a built-in heal that is massive. Massive, but still like, allows you to deal damage to them, just not necessarily long-term effectiveness. And we're a decent, at least, chunk of the way towards getting them to cast actual spells effectively. Obviously, we need to try and figure out what is going wonky from actually, like, casting them properly. Like, we know somatics are a problem, but there's also a question of why aren't we seeing them actually target me. Which is most likely related to the projectiles and whatnot in this case. So, entity... magic missile? There you are. So, how do you determine a target? That is the question. Get unique ID. Like, you must have some means here. Generate projectiles, okay. Whomst is target. Get entity look target, caster target range, okay, good, start up. Not seeing a reference to... I'm not seeing a reference to player, so that's a good start. I mean, it doesn't care if you're a player or not. But this'll take me a little bit to like figure out. So, hope you've all enjoyed. If you're in the Discord, which Moobot keeps pointing out every now and then, you can head over to Modding in Bedmon channel. That's where I usually dump progress on various things, as well as you can make suggestions on other features that should be universal across all Archfey. So currently, these features are that they have 300 health, 20 armor, they have a caster level of 30, they have spell resistance 35, and they have a boss attack that heals them by 150 as long as they are at less than 150 or half their health. So, yeah, pretty resilient fellas. And they don't count as bosses, which means they don't get killed by by Witcher. So there's that. But that's all I have for right now, so I hope you've all enjoyed. My next stream is on a Thursday, where we will be playing some more Monster Hunter World Iceborne, and then on Friday we have Fright Night with Dead by Daylight, because I haven't found anything else that doesn't infuriate me. And then on Saturday at 7 we should have some Dungeons and Dragon hats, followed by the Carousel at 9, and we'll be back on Tuesday for more of this. Meanwhile, I do make videos over youtube.com/remembercomic, it's in the banner up there, and everything I do is powered by you at Patreon, at patreon.com/lime. Hope you've all enjoyed, have a good evening, catch you next time.